Coach, as always, we appreciate the time. And as always, let's start with your thoughts on the previous game, the loss to Duke. You were right there with about 3 minutes to go in the first half, down 5, and then Duke hit you with that 11-0 run to close out the half, and things kind of went downhill from there.
Yeah, you summed it up perfectly. I thought we fought for those up until those last 2-3 minutes, and Duke is a team that plays in spurts, and they finished the half on a really high note, and we couldn't recover from there, and that was pretty much the game. We would have liked it to be more competitive, but unfortunately that didn't happen. But they're a very good team. I think they've lost won a game or 2 games in the last 2 years in league play. So, like I told our guys, that's a very good team, and we disappointed in our performance, and we would have liked to be more competitive and try to win the game, but that didn't happen. We just got to move forward and get ready for Saturday.
Coach, you kind of touched on it right there, but I was curious to hear what your message was to the team afterwards. And I know you had a day off, scheduled day off on Tuesday, and then got back to practice yesterday. What has been your message, both after the game and at practice yesterday for the guys to kind of, reset their focus?
We had to summarize last week of what we did. I mean, again, and every team has to do it, but again, we beat 2 teams that are potentially tournament teams at home. We had 2 NCAA tournament team games, and we had to battle. We went to overtime with Cal, and then we had to turn around and claw our way and fight our way back against SMU, and then turn back and turn around the next day and go down there, which every team has that turn, and we've had it twice when we went down to play North Carolina and Duke, and those were those are tough situations, and everyone has to do it. We just didn't. I thought we fought that first half, and then we kind of ran out of gas. And again, in that 3-game stretch, we had 3 NCAA tournament teams. We went 2-1, and now that's how we're going to piece this up and finish out this season. We got 4 more games that are all 3 quad 1 opportunities, and another home game against a good Pittsburgh team, and so we got to take that week by week. We'll have more time to prepare, and I think that'll be advantageous for us.
Coach, in the second half there, what can you do to maybe stop things like that from getting that far out of hand
Nothing.
In a game like that?
You can't do nothing. There's no 20-point play. There's no 20-point timeout, 15-point timeout. It's nothing but try to encourage your guys to keep fighting and try to, just try to find some fight. And again, as a coach, when you get in those situations, you just, you really just encourage your guys to just to fight, keep fighting, and try to get on the run, try to switch up defenses here and there. Every time we switched it up, they had an answer for it. It was just one of those games. And, for us, you guys got to move on. Again, we got a great opportunity coming against a really good North Carolina team, a quad 1 opportunity, and that's how that's the only thing that you can do about that last game.
Donnie has struggled against some of the better teams this year. Had that one really good half against North Carolina, but struggled against Virginia, struggled against Duke. Is it because he's at the top of the scouting report? Is it a physicality thing? How do you get Donnie going against some of the better competition that you're facing?
Well, I think we got to try to move the ball around a little bit better and try to use his quickness to his advantage, because those are bigger physical teams. I think we got to give him the ball in different places on the floor, and then we got to be able to make quicker decisions and things like that. But it's really movement and trying to get the ball to him in different places on the floor that works to his advantage.
2 years ago, you guys lost by 36 at UNC, and then they came here to the Dome, and you knocked them off. Do you draw upon that experience at all, and do you remind the players, obviously, aside from JJ, the players weren't here, but do you remind them at all of, hey, listen, it can happen where you have trouble against, and you laid out some of the reasons why you had trouble with Carolina the first time around. Now they're coming to your building. They're a little banged up. It can happen. Do you remind them at all of what happened 2 years ago?
No, we talk about, if you look at the landscape of college basketball, in particular this last week, obviously, blowouts, you've seen a lot of big big losses, and that's part of college basketball. That's part of basketball, period. Like, you have those days, and that's what you really talk about. We would love to, not be a part of that, but that happens. It was several big losses across college basketball. You know what I mean by a loss? 20 points, 25 points, whatever the case may be. So that happens. You see it at the highest level too. 30-point losses. You just got to be able to bounce back. Everything is about recovery, and that's what we talk about. And yes, we can pull from those experiences. Yes, we will, talk about that. And it happens all the time. You lose a game, on the road, and then you come back and you play back. You're back in your home crowd, and obviously a great opportunity for us to play on a Saturday against Carolina at home. The guys will be excited for that. We're excited for that. And, the only thing that matters is the next game now. We can't change anything in the past. So it's really about moving forward.
Can you draw anything off of the second half you guys had at North Carolina?
Yeah, I thought we did some. I think we've drawn from that even in our last two wins last week. Take away the Duke game. We did learn some stuff of some things that we could do better, things that kind of worked and impacted us. So we'll continue to work on those and use those going forward.
And along those lines, Coach, just that first meeting in general, when you look at North Carolina, and they're a little bit different this week, as we were discussing, as you were popping on, they're dealing with a couple of injuries, which I know you're fully aware of. But in that first meeting, what stood out to you about Carolina, and maybe what did they do well in that game that you guys are going to have to try to neutralize this time around?
Well, I thought their physicality on the perimeter was really physicality, period. I thought they really made it tough for us to get to our spots, running to the ball, using ball screens. I thought they did a really good job of steering us off our ball screens. And then, Vesta and Caleb Wilson, that's just, I thought they just had some really big moments for them. Caleb, some of that stuff you can't guard it. He just made big time moves, big time defensive moves, rebounding, whatever you call it. Like, he fell one time and we tried to get the ball on him. He just popped up with one hand and caught it in the transition. Investor, is a handful, 7 feet. Could shoot it, pass it. They did a good job of getting those guys the ball. They made some plays like that, but I was impressed with their physicality, their rebounding. Obviously, Carolina's always a good rebounding team. Their physicality and rebounding, I thought really that's what stood out to us. And I thought in the second half, when we, made a run, I thought we got a little bit more comfortable. We did a little bit more things to loosen them up to get ourselves going.
You just brought up their two top scorers who they've missed the last couple of games. Both have missed the games after the Miami one. That's where Caleb Wilson got hurt. Actually played in the second half of that game. X-rays were negative, and then afterwards they saw the fracture in his left hand, and so he's been out since. Vasar similarly has been dealing with an illness and an injury. We don't know the status of either guy going into Saturday. How do things change? And what have you noticed, I guess, about them the last two games? How do things change for that team when they're not on the floor?
Well, you could just look at the results, man. I mean, big time. I mean, again, I think they account for more than half of their rebounds, points, everything. So those are two big blows for them if they don't have those guys. But, I thought the guys that they still got really good players there, Trimble and, the freshman Dixon. And, they got guys that can, shoot the ball. And I thought Zayden High has had some big games for them since those guys have been down, and Stevenson. So they still got really good players. They're just a little different. But you talk about missing, they're probably missing, two, big, NBA players, to be honest with you. That's what they're missing right there. And that's a lot, to try to count at one time.
Coach, how's the morale of the team been this week at practice?
We've had a great practice, great energy. The one thing I keep saying that these guys have not quit. They understand the opportunity, and we talk about it. It's some team somewhere in our same situation that has that's going to make this run. Right, like that's what we're trying to be, that team that makes the run. Again, we got 3 quad one opportunities left on our schedule, which if if you're in our situation, that's all you can ask for. So these guys are excited. The coaching staff is excited to be able to try to finish this thing out the way we want it to finish out, and then keep moving forward. We're just going to keep our heads down and keep going because again, this is you start to look at the back end of all of these schedules. Some people got a lot of tough schedules ahead, and I think we have great opportunities. Some people don't have that opportunity, so you can't focus on it except just focus on one game at a time. But we got great opportunity, and that's all we're talking about is being able to have the opportunity. And we had a very spirited practice yesterday. The guys are looking forward to it. This group is resilient, and they're gonna keep fighting. We got a chance, and we still got to finish out this season, and then we gonna pick our heads up, and then we'll go to the ACC tournament and see what happens.
Coach, last one for you. There's going to be a special ceremony inside the Dome on Saturday. I know you're going to be busy, but at halftime, they're sending Jim Lee's jersey and Rudy Hackett's jersey up to the rafters. And when I know that you've been in and around Syracuse basketball for a really long time. When you look at that 1975 team and those two guys in particular, it almost seems like that team and those guys helped lay the foundation for the next 50 years of Syracuse basketball. Just wanted to get your thoughts on those two guys. Finally being honored seems a long time overdue, but for them to get their rightful place up there in the rafters.
Yeah, I agree with you, Steve. I had a chance, I had a chance to really speak more frequently with Jim Lee, and obviously I had a chance to meet Rudy, and two great players, two great ambassadors of that orange standard that we talk about. I think those guys are the guys that obviously are part of that. They've been very supportive, and I've talked to them a lot about that season. And I think they had one of those little droughts, and then they made that run as well. So again, I'm just very happy and honored that they're being honored and their jersey being retired, and they deserve it. They deserve it.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. That'll be at halftime of the Syracuse, North Carolina game on Saturday, 1 o'clock tip inside the Dome. Coach, as always, we appreciate the time. Best of luck. We'll talk to you again next week.
All right, guys. Take care.